Hello all, I Nirmala Rawat welcome you to my YouTube channel Hari Sadhana 108. Thank you for listening. In previous part, Soma narrated about how furious Ravan was as he wasn't ready to accept a woman being stronger than him. Moving on to part 2, chapter 16. Soma continues. Mata had begun transmitting to Sri Ram whatever knowledge she could uncover about Ravan's military strength and strategy. She also conveyed to him her distress over the death and destruction that a war would incur. And so, when Sri Ram arrived in Lanka, after overcoming the many obstacles Ravan had placed in his way, he sought to prevent the conflict. But it could not be avoided. Ravan defied his efforts, taunting Sri Ram to try the strength of his army against the army of Lanka. And so Mata braced herself for what was to come. Through her inner eye, she saw Sri Ram standing on Lanka's shore, looking sorrowfully over the kingdom that was soon to be destroyed. Both armies had access to highly advanced weaponry, weapons that could cause massive destruction to all living creatures. Innocent people, plants, and animals would suffer. They too would be destroyed. A deep sigh escaped both of their lips as they took in what lay ahead. The pain in his heart was her pain. His was the outer role, hers the inner one. For this battle, they had to work in harmony. She had to be attentive to every detail so that she could assist from her station inside the mental framework of the demon kingdom. The day of the fighting began. Dark clouds hung like thick wet traces clinging to the land, divided only by the plethora of arrows that shattered the air. For hours it continued, exploding the earth, leaving the stench of death. Day after day it went on until many of Ravan's top generals were killed, including his son and heir. The pain was unbearable for Mata. She could not distinguish one death from another. It no longer mattered to which army they belonged. When she felt bodies being torn to pieces, it was all part of the same life, life that also belonged to the earth, the trees, the land. One day, just as the sun was setting, the demon guard Trichita came running to tell her that Laxman had been killed. Mata shook her head in disbelief and whispered, "It is not possible." But Trijata had become her friend and guardian and would not lie. "It is true, Sita. I heard it directly from the battlefield. He has been hit with a poisonous arrow for which there is no antidote, at least not anywhere nearby. I am so sorry. It will be a great loss for your husband to lose his brother." Mata slipped immediately into meditation, and through her spiritual eye she saw Lakshman writhing in pain. The words of Shurpanakha returned to her, condemning her beloved brother-in-law to a painful death. Sri Ram was seated beside him, wiping his twisted face with a wet cloth soaked in medicinal herbs, trying to calm his agony. She saw a physician there instructing Hanuman to go in search of the sacred Sanjivani plant, the only medicine that could counteract the poison. But he had to return within a few hours, the physician said, or the plant would be of no avail. Time was of the essence as the poison was entering his bloodstream. Once again, only once before, had anger arisen in Mata, when Ravan had grabbed her by the wrist. But now that anger rose again. Riding a wave of fire that shot up through her spine, she found herself exiting her body and standing before Lakshman. She wanted to reach out to him, but she was not in physical form and could not be seen or heard. She could not touch him or do much to assist. As she stood thus wondering how she could help keep him in his body until Hanuman returned, she saw a shadowy figure approach. She immediately recognized Yamdev, the god of death, coming to lift Lakshman's spirit from his body. Pushing aside the great winds that flew in the wake of Yam's approach, tossing away the great clouds that had begun to engulf Lakshman's body, she placed herself between Lakshman and Yamdev, and stretching her arms out wide in a protective stance, she cried out, "You will not touch him." "It is his time, Mata. Please stand aside," replied Yam. When she refused, he pleaded, "I do not want to fight you, Mata. Please let me do my work." This is his karmic return for having disfigured a woman who was no threat to him, and for all the killing of asuras. Ram too must make a sacrifice in this great battle. "But what he did was in my defense," she cried. "Every action brings a reaction. This is due. This is due. His allotted time is up, and I must take him. You will have to make him. You will have to take me before you take him." And so their battle began, Mata against the god of death. Throughout the night they fought. Yam tried to approach Lakshman from every angle, but Mata was too quick, leaping from one side to another, and managed to keep him at bay. Again and again she cried that he would have to take her first, and again he replied that it was not her time. Finally he said to her, "I will leave him, but you will have to give me something in return." She was by now exhausted from the battle and so agreed. "I will take some years from your life and extend." She nodded. As soon as she gave her consent, she saw Yamdev fade away into the distance, and the dark clouds around him dispersed. Realizing that Hanuman would soon be back with sacred herbs, Mata also withdrew. She awoke some time later to find herself lying on the grass beneath the Ashoka tree. It was just after dawn, and Trijata was standing beside her, trying to revive her, telling her that Lakshman had survived the wound. Soma said. When Mata told Hanuman that story, she said she did not know whether the battle that she had with Yamdev was a dream or reality. It didn't matter. Lakshman survived, and that was all she cared about. But Hanuman told me that when he returned with the Sanjivani plant, and when Lakshman opened his eyes, his first words to Sri Ram were, "Where is Mata?" When Sri Ram told him that she was still captive in Ravan's Lanka, Lakshman shook his head and said, "No, that is not possible. I saw her here. I saw her standing before me. That is how I came to know that Mata's battle with Yamdev really did take place." This was a turning point for Mata. Her energy was depleted, but the battle was almost over. Nobody knew about this incident with Yamdev aside from Hanuman. Mata never spoke of it. It was only in the year after she left this world that Parvati Ma told Sri Ram what had taken place. When I questioned her about the incident, she was reticent to speak of it and said only that she did what any mother would do for her child. Lakshman was indeed like a son to her. Soma stopped her storytelling, as her tears prevented her from speaking. When she could speak again, she said, "There is so much about Mata that nobody knows. Her work was unseen, hidden from the world, and she was content to keep it that way. She told me repeatedly that the true work to preserve this world takes place away from the eyes and ears of humankind." Jai Shri Ram. I have no idea about the authenticity of this part. However, I do believe and have full faith that Mata could handle everything. that Sita Mata was extremely capable. She had unknown qualities. Might be this part is imagination of the author. Nonetheless, I do believe Mata did this. She was much more than a superhero, much more than a superwoman. Do let me know your views on this part. Bye for now. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.